Hello and welcome to Mystery Monday number 13. The train to Kaministikwia begins like this. At her post near the back of the courtroom, Marge Walker waited until the court clerk, Keith Whitaker, took his attention off the papers in front of him. They nodded as their eyes met, and when Marge placed 3 fingers on the shoulder strap of her bailiff's uniform in a seemingly natural attempt at comfort, Keith's eyes closed to indicate okay. The bet was still on, but the odds had just been lowered to 3-1. The object of their wager leaned over the bench, his lips set in a thin line. Judge Grant MacDonald was annoyed. His honor was known as strict, fair, and sensitive, but intolerant to a fault of long-winded witnesses and ill-prepared trial lawyers. He saw both in front of him right now, with emphasis, at present, on the former. Marge felt it necessary, therefore, to add a little more balance to the bet. Only an hour ago she had offered Keith 4-1 that Judge MacDonald would lose his temper at least once during the trial of Sherwood Manley. After hearing the first 2 witnesses and listening to the one on the box right now, she knew she would have to reduce the odds to keep the bet alive. His honor was on the brink of an explosion, and there were several more witnesses to go. The man in the box was Elias Colfus, conductor-in-chief, retired, of the Kakabeka and Superior Railroad. He was not a man of few words. "Mr. Colfus," his honor had just interrupted the witness's monologue. It was the Mr. to which both Keith and Marge had responded. They had heard that tone before. "Mr. Colfus, for heaven's sake, we have already heard from other witnesses that the railroad station is on the extreme western end of Kakabeka Falls. We already know that the track runs north and south along the lip of the canyon. We know that the dayliner comes up from Thunder Bay. We know it stops for 5 minutes in Kakabeka Falls at 7:30 in the morning, and then runs north to Kaministikwia. And we also know that your wonderful railroad company repeats this whole procedure for the people of Kakabeka at 7:30 in the evening. What the court would like to know, all the court wants to know, is, did you or did you not punch the ticket of the defendant, Mr. Manley, during the 7:30 morning run to Kaministikwia on September 28th of last year? Surely that is not a difficult question." Elias Colfus was unmoved. Judges, in his opinion, ranked somewhere below conductors-in-chief, if only slightly, so his honor's spleen was no concern of his. "Well, you see, Your Honor, the run from Kakabeka Falls to Kaministikwia takes 37 to 39.5 minutes in clear weather." "Mr. Marion!" Judge MacDonald called for the attorney for the defense. Harvey Marion scurried to the bench. Keith looked up to Marge Walker, but she shook her head. She was not prepared to come down to 2-1. Not yet. "Mr. Marion, I have in my hand your Exhibit 4. It is Mr. Manley's ticket dated September 28th, one way from Kakabeka Falls to Kaministikwia. There is a hole in the ticket, Mr. Marion, where your witness may or may not have punched it. And, Mr. Marion, the punched hole takes out the part of the O in 7:30 and all of the A in AM. Now would you please instruct Mr. Colfus to tell the court whether or not it was he who punched that ticket on September 28th of last year?" "Surely I don't need to remind you, Mr. Marion." Marge and Keith both tensed. They were sure his honor was letting go, but he calmed and continued. "To remind you that Mr. Manley's whereabouts at 7:45 a.m. on that morning is crucial to your case. He is on trial for murder that took place in Kakabeka Falls at almost precisely that time in, need I emphasize, his motel room. Mr. Colfus, Conductor Colfus," Harvey Marion was close to pleading. This is not the first time he had reacted to his honor's sting. "Look, young man," Elias Colfus ranked lawyers lower than judges. "I've been a railroad man for 47 years, started in the yards down at Stratford, and I've been punching tickets since before you were born. When you punch the time. You don't want some other person using that ticket again. Not on the Kakabeka and Superior Railroad. In fact, on our rails, we have never once—" "Mr. Marion," Judge MacDonald thundered. "Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor." Harvey Marion was literally dancing on the spot. "That will be all, Mr. Colfus. No more questions for now." Elias Colfus left the witness box. His carriage told the court that his dignity remained unsullied. "I have evidence, Your Honor." Harvey Marion was still dancing. "This is a Polaroid photograph. I plan to enter it as an exhibit." He held the picture out to the judge. "That's Mr. Manley in the corner of the track behind the train. The dayliner. It was taken just before he boarded at 7:30 a.m. His wife took it. She's my next witness. Judge MacDonald studied the picture with a frown. And who's that woman beside him, in the shadow? Hard to see her face. She's holding out his fingers. What's that? That's his wedding band? She's Mr. Manley's sister, Your Honor. He had just married on September 26th. The one on the other side is Manley's brother-in-law. They will both be called. The judge took off his glasses. Marge Walker leaned forward. The glasses were always a sign. Keith Whitaker half rose in his chair. Mr. Marion, His Honor began. Mr. Marion, how dare you come before this court and... He held his breath for a few seconds, released it slowly, and put his glasses back on. This court is adjourned for 1 hour. I want both counsel in my chambers at once. He stalked out before the courtroom could rise in response. Keith looked at Marge and shrugged. He knew, as did Marge, that they would never agree now on whether Judge Grant MacDonald's outburst qualified as a loss of temper or not. So the question is this. Did they both agree, however, that His Honor had detected a major flaw in Sherwood Manley's defense? What is it? What is that major flaw in Sherwood Manley's defense? Back at the worksheet here, we have 3 inference questions. Well, 2 inference questions, and then the final solution question as well. The first inference question is this: what can we infer about the judge based on his actions? We know a few things about him, what kind of person he is, and how he acts around his witnesses. What can we infer about the judge based on his actions? And the second is, what can we infer about Sherwood Manley based on his demeanor? Cite one action or quote from the text to prove your point. So I'm looking for something about something that he says or thinks, or a way that he conducts himself in the courtroom. What is his personality? What is his demeanor? Number 3, there are many facts, quotes, and realizations that the author uses to attempt to confuse the reader. What things catch your eye as possible leads to the solution? Shoot for 3. You might consider the bet, Mr. Marion's uneasiness around this judge, the judge's demeanor, Elias Colfus's demeanor, and consider Sherwood Manley as well. Answer the following question. They did both agree, however, that His Honor had detected a major flaw in Sherwood Manley's case. What is it? And with that, we have finished up Mystery Monday for this 13th version. Ciao for now.